episode 143, 3D printing dentistry and chiropractic referrals. I'm your host, Dr. Justin Trosclair, and today we're Colin Lathrop's Perspective. Join 2017 and 2018 Podcast Awards nominated host as we get a behind-the-curtain look at all types of doctors and guest specialties. Let's hear a doctor's perspective. Welcome back. I am pumped that you are tuned in to a doctor's perspective. I've been busy. I created some more quick reference guide PDFs. One of them is the marketing. It's 6 episodes. You can go to doctorsperspective.net/top marketing. One word, top marketing. So that way you can learn about like online reviews, video creation, content creation, vlogging, blogging, and those types of things. In fact, one of them was in the top of 2018. And then another series that I was able to do a PDF for is the Cash PT. So a doctorsperspective.net/Cash PT. We had a series, it was only 3 weeks. And then a few weeks later, I was able to get another doctor on who has an amazing podcast that was one of the catalysts for me to create this one a long time ago. And so he was on it. So anyway, it's 4 weeks of cash practice, physical therapy. We call that fee for service. I mean, in fact, most of the dentists that I just interviewed for this dental series that you're listening to right now, they're fee for service as well, or cash based. And you can find the quick reference PDF for this at .net/dentist with an S. Well, Dr. Lathrop is such a generic buzzword, cutting edge, but like for real, his technology, he's able to digitally scan your mouth. So like if you ever like busted a tooth out, he could replace that tooth pretty much exactly how you had it versus guessing. If you needed a special implant, he'll do some fancy impression work and he can 3D print it right there. So you're not in your mouth, oh, that didn't quite fit, shaving it, putting some glue and all this kind of stuff. No, it's going to be like almost a nearly perfect fit because he was able to get a good scan and then print it. Pretty amazing. And we'll also talk about referrals. And as a chiropractor, as a physical therapy, we're always looking for people that can refer to us and, we refer back to them. And so he gave like an amazing idea, one that he utilizes in his office. If somebody grinds, they're going to have mouth pain, neck pain, headaches, and it can create poor motion in the spine because of all this muscle stuff. And so, he can do a temporary fitting if it helps, as well as a chiropractic, getting adjusted. All of a sudden, boom, this patient's like, wow, these things are going away. Awesome. Now we can actually put the permanent solution in your mouth and take care of both. So definitely want to tune in. He'll give you some mock scripts of like how to approach, what to say, and in both fields. Like if you're a dentist looking for a chiropractor, if you're a chiropractor looking to build these relationships, if you're a chiropractor looking to build these relationships in your hometown. So, and then at the end, we discuss why he calls his staff team members, as well as why there's not an official only front desk person. There's 3 or 4 good reasons to not have somebody just be there, including like blackmail and extortion, but also it's a better patient experience when everybody is cross-trained. And at the end, on the relationship part, he talks about a conference that he's going to go to, and I'll let him talk more about that. So all the show notes can be found at doctorsperspective.net/143. Thanks again for tuning into the dental series. Let's go. #behind the curtain. Live from China in Katy, Texas. Today on the show, we're going to continue our dentist series with Dr. Colin Lathrop. He's a guy that specializes in sedation, cosmetic implants, and those type of like higher end, I would say, dental procedures. And we're also going to discuss some things like, what does no front office mean exactly? Not having a dedicated person. And we're going to chat with an interesting higher level practice referral relationship that he has with ENTs and chiropractors and how that branches off for pretty much everybody's benefit, which is kind of unusual. So I'm really excited to have him on the show, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Happy to be here.
All right. Well, we always got to have the obligatory why dentistry, but we'll take it a step further and say you could have just been a general dentist, kind of stayed in that lane, but instead you've kind of branched out into the higher end, I would say, more non-insurance based dentistry. So how did all that play out?
Well, you get bored doing basic stuff, and the difficult stuff pays a lot better. So after doing it for a while, you just kind of evolve into that. So previous associateship that I worked in, it was a higher fee with a high volume, kind of trying to focus on larger cases and that sort of stuff. And so I really enjoyed, watching the guy that I worked for doing those cases. And I thought, when I start up my own practice, I want to do everything for everyone, but also try to evolve into more so doing these higher level, very difficult cases. And you get a lot of personal satisfaction from doing those, you get financial satisfaction as well. It's just an evolution. I see dentists who've been doing it for 15, 20 years. They do the same garbage that they were doing 1 and 2 years out of dental school. They just never changed, never evolved. And unfortunately, their patients actually suffer, because of that, by not having the best techniques or the best materials or best solutions to common dental problems, presented to them. So, if they don't know how to do it or don't want to do it, then they can refer it out. But, don't kind of shortchange your patients just because of your own ignorance, I guess. So yeah, it's just been an evolution. After taking a bunch of CE courses, and learning more and more in depth and kind of finding my path of things that I gravitated towards. It's kind of how I ended up where I am now.
That's interesting because you got to take continuing ed every year anyway, just like every other medical profession. So why not take something very interesting or learning about new composite metals, learning about implants, learning about something that you aren't that great at yet, and something that actually can get paid better for. I don't really understand why they wouldn't do that.
Well, you've got these guys, and it happens. It's not just dentists; it happens all over. They finish school, they're now a doctor. They think they know everything, and that they're going to sit in their own little private world, their private little kingdom, and just kind of they want to take whatever qualifies their licensure requirements, and it's in some like vacation place, and that's it. They don't bring any of those skills back, and
Right.
it's really counterproductive because they end up working a lot harder for a lot longer that way. If you can find courses to increase your skill set in a safe way for your patients and for your practice to where you do it responsibly, then you can get better and better, faster and faster to where you can do more work in less time with the same or even higher level of quality. Or you can do harder things. It takes longer, but you get paid a lot better for it. And then if you do that for however long, and you're good with your money, then you don't have to do this for till you're 80. So yeah, you have to balance the benefit of the education to the cost as far as you're away from the office, so you lose money there. You have your tuition of your course and your hotel and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But by and large, benefit far outweighs that measly cost if you pick good high quality CE and you actually apply it and use it. If you take the courses and you don't apply any of that stuff, you just flushed a bunch of money down the drain. That's pretty dumb. But doctors routinely do it. That's just a personal hang up that people have, I think.
Well, yeah, when I was out of school, there was a technique I was doing. And if you went to the seminar, you could stay certified. But if you stopped going, then you couldn't be certified anymore. And after a couple of years, I was like, man, it felt like I wasn't like progressing anywhere. So I just was like, forget it. I'm done with this. And I took classes that I wanted to take. And one year I just had to I was coming from China to America and I had to just get an education class. It was so brutal to just sit through a 12 or whatever hour, 15-hour weekend seminar of just stuff that you don't care about, that you just like needed to punch the CE clock that year. I was like, this is brutal. I don't know how people do this every year and have just no passion for what they're learning. It blows my mind.
Yeah, and you're not effective because you're not going to learn if you're not paying attention. And if it's something you're really passionate about and you really love to do, you're going to learn it. You're going to be so good at it. And then when you get back on Monday or Tuesday, whenever you get back to your office, then you're going to be excited about looking for those cases and using that new knowledge pretty quickly. And it's just better for you, better for your patients, better for your practice. So why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. What would you say, as far as the procedures that you do, what's the most challenging that you encounter?
Usually that would be my combination cases. I will do Invisalign to straighten out the teeth. Like I had a lady, I finished her Invisalign. She's missing like 4 teeth. And I created a surgical guide for implants. I printed it off in my printer in my lab, placed the implants, tied up the tissue, closed her. She's looking fantastic. Then she's healing for a while now, so we're maintaining her and Invisalign holding retainers. And then she'll be ready for me to make teeth for her in a few more months. So it's just coordinating those things, especially these cases that take a long time because you have to wait on biology of healing especially bone healing takes a while. So those can be challenging.
Because a lot can go wrong between those 3 months while the screw that goes into the bone has to heal. You don't know what the patient might do to mess it up as well, I'm assuming.
Right. She can stop wearing her holding retainers, and she doesn't have these key teeth that hold her bite. And the teeth can start shifting into a position that makes the implants themselves not the best to make nice looking teeth on.
Ah.
That's sort of where she could move. And she could move to like California or some awful place. And then call us up and go, oh yeah, by the way, I moved. And I don't need this so he can make my teeth. Like, well, you have all these technical considerations and this and that. And,
good luck with that.
yeah, right. So that gets tough. Patient expectations is a tough thing for most, and that you have to overcome that with clear communication and documentation mainly, and that becomes kind of a non-issues. I talk to patients before these big, long, drawn-out cases to make sure they're not moving, and they understand that if they move, then they have to fly back for me to finish because they've already paid. And that's on them. You change the arrangement, not me. I'm still here.
Oh, that's interesting. That's true. It was one big case.
Right. Yeah.
In the pre-chat, you mentioned 3D printing. What exactly are you 3D printing?
So we'll print a lot of different stuff. We will print, like I said, implant surgical guides, which makes your implant placement more accurate, more efficient, more profitable, really, because you can spend 25 minutes placing 3 implants versus hour and a half, 2 hours, drilling a little bit, taking an X-ray to confirm, drilling a little bit more, all this other stuff. The old manual analog check stuff we had to do to make sure that our accuracy was pretty good, doing it manually. So now it's really well automated. I design all my own surgical guides as far as the guides themselves, the position of the implants being placed, and all that sort of stuff. So I know all the issues. I've done it.
So you got fancy technology, digital, some kind of implant impressions and all kinds of stuff, so that you know when you're making the grooves, or what is it called, the hardware. When you're making the hardware, it's actually exactly what you need.
So you get a dry run on surgery from beforehand. Digital dry run. You make sure your inventory is there, all the implants that you need, and sizes and prosthetic parts and all that sort of stuff as well. So that makes it pretty nice. One of the other things that we do is we'll take a digital scan and I'll upload that to a designer, digital designer, and then when I get all the new teeth back, I can print those out and I can make some custom transfer impressions where I can transfer that information to the patient's teeth. So let's say chronic muscle joint issues, clenching, grinding, sleep apnea, all that kind of combination patient, maybe taking some medications for dry mouth, or throwing some ADHD stuff there as well. So they've ground all their teeth down. They're all nice and flat and in the wrong position. So anatomically, the teeth are all destroyed. They're still there, but they've taken away all the anatomy that the teeth need to function correctly without pain, facial pain, headaches, and then creating neck issues, and then that translates all the way down the back. So I can take a digital scan, and I can plan for the new length of all the teeth to get them right back where they're supposed to be, and I can print those models of the simulation and transfer on the patient so they can see before we've touched anything, before we've done some irreversible procedure on them. They can see relatively what the final teeth would look like. You can evaluate that as far as postural balance.
Almost like a snap-on, so they can see it.
Kind of. Snap-on has to be really thick and bulky, so that usually looks pretty ugly. So this is we inject it in a liquid form in a matrix, a rubber impression of the digital wax up, the digital printed wax up, I guess, and transfer that liquid onto the teeth. And once that material sets, it can clean off the excess, and then they can see what they feel like. Now, the other benefit of that is, if you're working with chiropractors, is as soon as we do a transfer, we can send them over to have adjustments done. So then all of their, the head's balanced, the hips balanced, all that stuff, they're all lined back up. So that if you had an issue because of the bite creating postural issues, then you can test drive and see that those can be corrected, right?
Right.
Because if the occlusal plane is not balanced, you can't get the cervical spine balanced, and you can't get the pelvis and all that stuff balanced. It's phenomenally difficult. If you had a problem with the pelvis, it can move its way up into the back, into the neck, and create some mastication issues or make nocturnal bruxism worse. So we use that as far as 3D printing those teeth. One of the other things that we use it for is printing what are called custom impression trays. Dentists are notorious for trying to, take shortcuts and all this other stuff. I want to do it cheaper and faster so I can take home more money, right? Well, you spend a little bit more time and do a pretty inexpensive, fabricated custom tray before you're doing impressions for this $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 case, which makes your impressions phenomenal, which makes the lab love you because you're giving them good stuff, and they're able to turn around really good stuff back to you, which makes it easier for you to deliver for your patient, which that saves you time, and the product looks fantastic. So contrast that with not in my office, and somebody uses this little plastic, crappy, one-size-fits-all kind of tray with a little cheap plastic mesh in there. They fill it up with impression material, and they smash it in there, and they get this awful impression that doesn't really represent the teeth well, or the gum tissue, or all this other stuff that we have to look at technically. And then when they get the case back from the lab, who called and said, please send me a new impression, and the dentist said, make it work. And the lab guy says, okay, well, it looked like crap. Then, then the dentist is mad because on delivery day, they're grinding, nothing fits, and they're trying to use excess glue to make it work, patch it, and all this other stuff, all because they wanted to save about $3 worth of custom impression tray stuff. Stupid. So they create,
especially when you're going to get paid $30,000. It's like, come on,
throw in, $10 worth of extra materials for $3, per arch plus a backup. It's just stupid. So we can use that 3D printing for that stuff. The cool thing about 3D printing ability and digital technology that we're using on a routine basis now is if I have a digital scan of you when you come in for a cleaning appointment as a new patient, and I just happen to take a scan and have a digital record of your teeth. And then let's say, we see each other every 6 months or whatever else for cleaning for a while. And then 2 years from now, you have an accident, you fall, and you knock out your front 5 teeth, let's say. And
yeah, that happens.
It's awful, and that sort of stuff. And then you go and you have them rebuilt and all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't look like you. Yeah, pictures, that's okay. It gives you kind of in the ballpark of the shape of the teeth. But if I have a digital scan of you, I can just print your upper model. And I can recreate your teeth to the exact same shape, size, rotations, crowding, whatever. Or we can straighten them or that sort of stuff. I can give you back what you started with. We can get pretty close on color based on the natural colors of all the other natural teeth that are present.
Wow.
But if I don't have that ability from the beginning, I didn't have the forethought to take a digital scan of my new patients, digitize their mouth. If I didn't have the ability to 3D print them and recreate that sort of stuff, and that's not going to happen all the time, but when you have patients that you're able to do that sort of stuff for, they will absolutely tell the world about you. They're just so blown away at their creativity and how you can apply the technology in their benefit.
Is that 3D printing? Is that in-house, or you have like a lab that you outsource to?
So I have printers in-house. I have 3 different printers right now. Same company. I have 2 that are the same ones, and then I have 1 that's upgraded. So the company called Sprint Ray, and so I have Moonray S. I have 2 of those older printers, and I just got a Moonray Pro in, so I'm getting cranked up with that. And I've got some really cool cases that I've been waiting on this Pro printer to show up so that I can print a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to video a bunch of these procedures with people, and I'm just going to stick it on YouTube and teach some people how I do this stuff. I thought about doing a course like in my office and charging money for it and everything else. And it's just, man, it takes so much time and effort and everything else. So I can cut video and have somebody edit it for me, and I can proof it and all that kind of stuff and just stick it out there, and help patients and help dentists and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. Because people are still going to come back and be like, hey, your video was great, but in my particular scenario, I still need some help. What can we do?
Yes. They can come in and I can do a one-on-one, like in office or over the shoulder with 2 or 3 people and make it really, really effective. For them, they can really see every step in detail, and they're right there with me. If I had like 10 or 12, 15, 20 docs in my office and I'm trying to like live cast it with some head cam or some crap like that, and they can't really see the fine detail of what we're really doing, then they lose out on that. So I'd rather have a smaller group, more intimate, and a higher level, experience for them, so they can take it back to their patients and do it really well. And they can do that without having to have 3D printers in their office. They need a digital scanner, preferably.
Yeah.
or the ability to send it up to a scanning center to have a scan made. They can do all the design stuff either themselves or outsource it, and either print it themselves again, or they can outsource it. So they don't have to have it, but it makes a big difference in your patient's perception of your abilities as well, because you're so cutting edge and high tech. And they're coming from an office that smelled and looked like the 70s.
Yeah.
Or that sort of stuff. I mean, or they come in for a consultation and they see all this stuff and like, whoa, I've been to 3 different consultations for $50,000 rehab because they really want to do it right. But they're well informed and they're smart enough to get several opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And they come to my office and say, oh, well, let's take a digital scan and we'll design your case and print it out and we'll show you everything before we start so that there is no questions as far as what we're doing or why. And you can see what your facial features will look like and how your neck will feel and all that sort of stuff after we're done, before we touch anything. It's a smarter way of doing it, and you have the end in mind before you begin.
Is there any associations or ways to find you, but in other states? If I'm in Georgia, if I'm in New York, how do I find someone that's doing what you're doing?
You have to look on maybe some of the Facebook forums on 3D printing or digital design, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Just try to find somebody who was kind of closer to you. I've done FaceTime with people from all over to show them a few things to get them through a couple of steps that they were getting hung up on. That's still pictures, or they text me or message me little small short video clips, and it just took too much time back and forth. So I was like, hey, dude, just FaceTime me. It's really easy. So we did that, and I see what they were doing. I was like, no, you got to turn it that way and do this, and they did it, and they're like, oh, okay, I got it now. All right, cool, go for it. And then they'd send me pictures later on cases that they're working on and that sort of stuff. So I could see that they got the technique and it was helping them out. So that's why I thought, if I just take some of the unique stuff that I'm doing and I just put it on YouTube, then, I could share that with dentists and stuff like that. Maybe even patients can see it for some reason. I don't know why they'd want to, but they see you as a teacher and sharing all of this stuff, especially some of these unique, really cool cases that we do.
Yeah.
I can do like a full mouth additive, what's called rehabilitation, out of filling material, an injectable filling material, which cost me about $500 total all in. And I can lengthen all the teeth and get the bite really balanced well. They sleep better, they chew better, they smile better, psychology is better. And some of those people with either stretching exercises or Pilates or yoga or seeing a therapist or chiropractor, adjustments, massage, whatever, all that stuff to get back balanced and everything else to where they can lead a happier, more productive life without having to grind all the teeth down. Because nowadays, people are really health conscious. In the 90s, you wanted a nice smile. You didn't want to do braces because, it made you look like a kid.
Uh-huh.
You're an adult. And so they just go, okay, well, we'll make these crown things that goes around and over all of your teeth. Change the color, the shape, and you're going to love them. It'll be beautiful. Fast forward to 2018, that lady comes in, and she's now 60, and all of her teeth are failing because somebody ground them down with these tiny little toothpicks.
Oh, yeah.
And so now it's rehab part due, but you have to add a bunch of implants to them and a bunch of gum and bone surgery to correct a lot of this stuff. And so the patient was never aware that their lifetime cost was going to be $100,000, $180,000, or whatever else it was. That's irreversible. You can't come back from that once you roast the enamel with a drill.
Yeah. You got nubs.
So I have a technique that I do with 3D printing, again, digital design, and injecting a liquid material. For all the teeth are separated. You floss them, they're smooth, shiny. You chip one, who cares? I can just put that little matrix form back on the tooth and inject it, repair it in about 2 minutes. Really simple.
Wow. And
you haven't done any significant long-term damage to the teeth. You actually make them stronger because you're adding a protective shell around what's left. It's a smarter way of doing it.
And you can still chew and do everything once you have this plastic.
Oh, you're not eating apples or whatever. It makes the existing teeth that you have stronger than what you had when you grind them off. Now, they're not as strong as natural teeth that God designed,
right?
But you tore those up, so
round 2.
Yeah, so people nowadays, like I was saying, are just more health conscious, and so some of these more modern techniques of additive dentistry without grinding on the teeth, or you're just rounding and polishing some corners, but you're not significantly damaging the teeth, then they go for that in a big way because they see that it's longer lasting and it's less invasive. So
when you were mentioning the chiropractic and making sure, if you're having headaches, making sure everything's aligned, the low back and everything, was that a relationship that you sought out, or was it like a circumstance where one patient came in, they were seeing a chiropractor, they got the the injection in the teeth and they're like, wow, my headaches are going away a lot faster, and you just kind of put the two together? Or like, how did that play out? And is it a requisite that they go see a chiropractor when they're working with you, or just suggested? How's that play out?
It's suggested if there's other postural problems. So a friend of mine, his name is Ben Sutter. He's in Oregon, and he does a lot of this digital bite equilibration and adjustments via a piece of technology called a tech scan. TechScan, the company itself, they also make sensors for a postural position. So you can stand on a sensor, you can check to see how much balance you have, right side, left side on your feet, and also how much pressure do you have on your toes versus the balls of the feet and that sort of stuff, or your heels. And you can see these patients who are out of alignment. The spine is out of alignment, so the balance of their feet, and if you cover their eyes and close their eyes and just stand there, they'll have what's called sway. Well, they'll kind of move back and forth a little bit. And you shouldn't do that if you're relatively balanced and spine's healthy and that sort of stuff. So anyway, so I'm watching this lecture with my buddy Ben, and he's talking about this stuff to where he was able to, after a series of computerized, analyzed adjustments, when they squeezed and when they grinded the right and the left, and once he got the bite balanced, the sway improved, or it went down to zero, or significantly decreased as far as the amount of sway. Also, when he was showing that patients would leave, they'd go home, they're tired, they were just wiped out from this bite adjustment session for a few hours because the muscles have been chronic muscle spasm, that sort of stuff. And they're grinding and chewing and all this other stuff for the adjustment procedure, that they get a really good night's sleep. And then they'd come back, and he would analyze them again, standing, analyze their sway, analyze their balance of their bite, that sort of stuff. And they would, anecdotally, the patients would say that, man, they just felt better. Their mobility increased. The body just felt better, that sort of stuff.
Right.
So he started making some of these connections. And so I was thinking about that, and I had just had a patient that came in like the week before, and she was talking about, she was seeing this chiropractor. She came in as a dental patient, and she was talking about how she was seeing this chiropractor to help with her headaches and her neck and all this other pain and that sort of stuff. And I remember, what her teeth looked like. It was very similar to this case that Ben was showing with all this stuff. So I got back, and I immediately called her and had her come in. I did a digital analysis of her, and I was checking a couple of things. I thought, holy, she's got the same stuff that Ben was talking about during this patient's case. So I did the adjustments on her, and I said, I want you to go back to the chiropractor and see what she says, because I knew her chiropractor was down the street. And sure enough, she goes into the chiropractor the next afternoon, so as soon as she could get in, and the chiropractor said, hey, your muscle tension and everything else is really, really decreased. What did you do? And so she told the chiropractor about our adjustments, and I talked to her about balancing the bite, and it helps to balance the neck and all sort of stuff. And so the chiropractor called me up and said she wanted to know what I did to her patient. And so we got together, and I was going through all this stuff, and she was totally blown away. And so now she sends me quite a few patients when they come in, and they have I've given her some guidance on how to evaluate patients who have dental problems that are manifesting as a chiropractic issue, as far as neck pain, shoulder pain, headaches, excess muscle tension in the masters, temporalis, and all the way down the occipital portion of the skull. And it's kind of simple when you look at these patients. They got a real square-jawed appearance. So the masters are hypertrophied, right? Now, they didn't look like that when they were 16 and 17, these females especially. And the masters themselves are out past the earlobes. So that's kind of step number one. You see somebody with a real square-jawed appearance as a female, they are heavily clenching all the time. They're working out those muscles. Then they break teeth. Oof. Another telltale sign is if you have them bite down and smile.
Okay.
If you don't see any of their lower teeth, you see the top teeth and they're crooked, and you see no lower teeth whatsoever, you have what's called a super deep bite. They're trapped. They can't get the teeth apart from each other, so then they have excess muscle function, again, in the masters and the temporalis. Usually they're sore in the face, and then they have lots of neck pain, and they'll have trigger points in SEMs especially, and then back down in the back, the scaling muscles especially, they'll have a lot of trigger points back there. So if those patients have their bite opened or lengthened to where you can see the bottom teeth, either orthodontically or restoratively by adding crowns or whatever else, then you can get that trap, that system opened up and released. For the patient feels better, you as a dentist have done better, and then coordinating with the chiropractor, you're able to keep them comfortable through those phases. Those patients, again, who have heavy massive pull, big square jawed appearance, and you don't see any of their lower teeth, they also would benefit from seeing an ENT, because most likely they have sleep apnea.
Ooh.
Sleep apnea causes them to have an increased amount of nocturnal bruxism. They are suffocating because the facial muscle of the mouth closed and the teeth together. The respiratory system wants the lower jaw opened and pushed forward, the tongue off the back of the throat, open the airway so that suffocating person can breathe. And so you have this argument back and forth between the facial muscles and the respiratory system. So that's where you get all of this excess wear and tear on the teeth, especially on all the front teeth, and not much wear on the back teeth. That's an airway problem. So that's where you kind of coordinate with an ENT. Because if they look at the person, especially if they do a sleep study and get a baseline, and then we see them, we digital scan, we plan things, we do an additive from our 3D model printing stuff I was telling you about, and then you see them as a chiropractor and adjust them to get everything back in balance. And then you can just kind of sit back and wait and see how do they respond. Because again, chiropractic adjustments can be reversible, because if posture and everything else is still pretty poor, then the bones in there are going to move back into that poor position, right? So if the teeth are responsible for some of them, and the airway, especially ENT, combination of stuff, is also affecting that, then there's not one of those things that's going to fix that patient. So you can do all the adjustments in the role that you want to, but if the airway and the teeth disagree, then that patient is not going to get better. You're just going to have them on a rinse and repeat, kind of annuity model.
Yeah.
So if you bring in these other groups, these related people, you may even end up bringing in an orthodontist as well, so that you can widen the arches, move the teeth out. That creates more airway space for the tongue for it to come forward. And then you have a dentist like me who lengthens the teeth. That opens the airway space as well. Again, providing more room for the tongue to come forward and more patent airway. These patients, they're going to sleep better. Their metabolism will naturally change without doing anything else if they can breathe better. They'll lose some weight. That'll be better. Your adjustments will be easier because now they'll be 15, 20, 30 pounds lighter and smaller, that sort of stuff. And you can get them into a comfortable position and on a maintenance type adjustment program where they're comfortable.
Right.
But, if you recognize it as a chiropractor, some of these things, and you recommend the patient to see a dentist who understands these things and can see it and fix it, or knows where to send them if they can't fix it, that's better for the patient. Right? So that passes all your ethical tests.
Well,
and yes, you need to be paid for your stuff, so that's good for you. So you can pay your lake house or whatever your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
that's good for you.
If I'm a chiro, if I'm a physical therapist, I'm looking at the things that you said, and I'm going to be calling the dentist in my town and start asking some questions or taking some people to lunches or coffees or something to find out what kind of dentistry that they do, so that you can find the one that's kind of matching what you do with the 3D.
That's right.
And now you got a relationship and you can actually have a conversation. You're like, hey, I heard it on this podcast. What are you thinking? What have you seen? And they might have already come to your same conclusions. And if not, now at least you have a reference to give them to say, hey, you should probably take an hour, listen to this, and let's reconvene in like a week, because your patients, my patients, are going to definitely see some benefits from that. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And again, it's a higher level referral when one doctor is sending a patient to another doctor for a specific reason that is articulated well, and the patient understands why. If the doctor just says, hey, Sally Smith, I want you to go see Dr. Lathrop over here and have him look at your teeth. And that's it. She's going to say, but I have a dentist.
Right.
See, yeah, I know, but you need to go see this other guy over here. He's going to look at your teeth. And then she's going to say, but I already have a dentist. You see what I mean? So there's a big disconnect. Now, if you say, Sally, I want you to go visit with Dr. Lathrop, I've spent quite a bit of time discussing things with him and how he treats patients with a very similar issue that you have. And I believe, in my opinion, that he is probably the best around this area to address these things to get you some comfort and relief. Now, he'll look at your bite and how the teeth fit together and how that interacts with the muscles in your face. Okay, so he can do a workup and tell you some of the more specific things that he can do to help you improve. Right? It's a whole different type of referral.
Yeah.
Versus go see this guy for something.
Yeah.
Or see this guy, he's the best in the area. He can definitely help you with this and this and this that you have so that you will be better. So you're like, okay, great. I'm going to go call that guy and I'm going to go over there. See what I mean? So it works really, really well. And then back and forth the same way. When a dentist sees a patient who has obvious muscle issues, most likely related to their bite, but also to their posture, what they do, habits, sleep habits, work habit, lifestyle, right? If you're sitting on a computer 18 hours a day, all hunched over and drinking iced tea and not moving whatsoever, you're going to have some postural problems. And it may relate to sleep issues or dental issues as well. So they all overlap.
Right, they do.
So and an ENT can do the same thing if that's in the realm or combination of your referral network.
And that's some easy questions to ask because a lot of times people these days, they know if they sleep bad and they know they have sleep apnea. Now, maybe not a younger person, but it just seems to be something that people are investigating these days more so than like 5 or 10 years ago.
Right. Like sleep apnea, it's a big buzzword now. A lot of people are looking into it, that sort of stuff, all these sleep centers and sleep dentistry and sleep appliances and CPAPs and all that junk.
Right.
So you've got this guy who's diagnosed with sleep apnea, moderate or severe, and the recommendation is a CPAP, nasal or full face, and he tries to wear that thing that he's never worn. He's 58.
It's brutal.
And then there's not going to wear it. So, okay, well, I get it. That's tough, difficult, that sort of stuff. Okay, well, if you're not going to do that at all, why don't you wear one of these appliances that helps keep your airway open? It's got problems with the joint. You're going to dry out your tongue and your mouth a little bit, and that's better. And if you sleep better, then maybe you can have more energy. And you can start changing some things to where, you can start losing some weight and getting back, being healthy and that sort of stuff. The gold standard would be a CPAP. If they won't wear it at all, is that better than doing something that might improve? That sort of stuff. So chiropractors especially, and again, ENTs, because a lot of stuff is kind of related, can make those cross-reference recommendations for a patient benefit.
Very good.
There's lots of chiropractors around me. I refer to two of them, one who's right down the street, and then one who's a little bit further away, but he's a friend of mine, and his wife is actually one of my hygienists, and he's fantastic. And then there's another chiropractor that I'd actually seen was being treated by for a while, and it was just in and out, quick adjustments, crack in the back, $40, here and there for adjustments and that sort of stuff. And there was really no guidance on, hey, I don't want to come back in here.
Right.
I don't want you to crack my back and my neck and all this other stuff over and over, once a week or every 2 weeks. And his approach just seemed more of this recurring annuity model, which was great, I guess, for him. But I didn't feel that it was really looking out for my best interest. So I didn't think that really passed fully, some ethical tests there. Nice guy. I mean, I was really happy with him, that sort of stuff. It's just his approach was, we'll just come back once a week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's probably what he truly felt that people needed, and there are those chiropractors. But between you and me, I'm just like, well, we should be able to do more for our patients so they don't have to come that often. And when you see a different style of chiropractic, you're like, oh, there was more than just that kind of guy out there.
Yeah, I mean, my buddy Darren, his name's Darren Konishek. He's here in Katy. He's fantastic. I mean, he's really good with his patients and that sort of stuff, but he really wants to get them into a better, healthier lifestyle with stretching and exercise and that sort of stuff, where they're not having to come in all the time. Maybe that's not the best business move versus having, 9,000 adjustments a day at $30 a pop or whatever. But his patients really feel like he's looking out for their best interest, which they then refer a lot of other people to him because they're like, hey, he's not turning next time.
Exactly.
So that's a better way because
it pays yourself back. It's the long-term game, I think, if you want to look at it like that.
They're getting higher level value for what you're doing. They refer better, higher value patients to you who are looking for that sort of approach, not who's looking to come to you because your adjustment is $1.80 less than the guy that's 3 blocks from them, but they'll drive 2 miles to save $1.80. In traffic, real smart.
Not so much. Hey, before we let you go, what about this no front office? It sounds like a lot of people are cross-trained. Give us some of the pluses and minuses of having a system that way, and how it kind of plays out in your office. It might be something that other dentists and other professionals, because there are some clinics in my realm that have lots of staff as well, and maybe they can change some things up, save some money, and have better staff overall as in the whole scenario.
One of the biggest problems that can happen in a doctor's career, especially a private office owner, is either turnover from people moving or dying, I guess, or getting pregnant, and then they're not going to come back in the workplace, or embezzlement, right? So you can protect yourself from interruption of your business by increasing the amount of cross-training for your team. And I say team as a distinguisher from a staff. Staff is an infection. A team is who you will go to battle with, right? So if you have people who don't trust you or don't like you, or they're just not good people, they will steal from you. Either they will ride the clock and steal from you, they will physically take money from you and put it into some sort of credit adjustment on their account or whatever else, or they'll just be pissed off one day and try to steal a vacation from you. You know, like, you need to give me 3 weeks vacation, or I am going to quit. And I'm the one who knows where all of the insurance claims go and process and yada, yada, yada. I own you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a front desk queen and I own you, right? So those are not the people that you want. And you can protect yourself from that, and insulate yourself from, issues and stuff like that with people leaving or becoming bitter or whatever else by just crossing the on your team. Now, the other thing, when you do a desk job, after a while, the minutia gets to where it's so boring and awful that you get lazy, right? So if they have an ability to do that and the ability to interact with patients, which is why they kind of do it to begin with, then they stay happier and more functional, and you get a better return from their hourly investment that you're providing, right?
True.
So, like Shelby, for instance, she has been with me since the beginning. When I opened my practice 6 years ago with no insurance contracts whatsoever, and I've maintained that until this day with a very high competitive market. Lots of dentists moving out here, that sort of stuff, ever since I opened.
So your fee-for-service are cash?
I'm an out-of-network office.
There we go.
So we still bill for assignment of benefit and all that sort of stuff, try to work within the parameters of their insurance because that helps the patients out. But we still get pretty much our full fee. Now, I write off x-rays and some exams and little stuff like that because that doesn't cost me any money to do an exam for me. And x-ray is just kind of a loss leader, that sort of stuff. I'm trying not to nickel and dime people on things. So if I need a panoramic x-ray to evaluate something and they had one a year ago in another state with another dentist, insurance companies have to pay for it. Well, I'm not going to piss a patient off by going, oh, well, I require a $125 x-ray before I can blah, blah, blah. Just take it. And it's easier to send it, and if they get paid for it, and if they don't, then write it off, or adjust it or whatever else. Because, you're not going to retire on x-rays.
And we don't hardly get paid anything to do an x-ray. Like if you got paid $125 for an x-ray, congratulations, dentist, because that is amazing. Like, we're lucky to get $35 or $40 from the insurance company to do an x-ray on a spine. It's crazy.
Yeah, and those x-rays that y'all are taking are a lot bigger, sensor size, and all kind of stuff if you're digital or film or whatever else. So
yeah.
It's just differences in the different categories of our professions, I guess. But,
exactly.
But yeah, it's nice because I do have Miranda. She's the best on the phones. She's the best in person when people walk in. So that's kind of where she stays for the most amount of time. She takes care of like all the billing receipts or any of that sort of stuff that comes in. She's very organized. I could not survive without her organization skills because I don't have that. But if I have a patient in braces and we need to take the arch wire off and elastics and all this other stuff so I can do a filling or whatever else, well, Miranda leaves the front desk, she comes back, and she takes care of that patient, works on the filling with me. She'll take the ortho wire and the elastics off. I'll finish what I need to do, and then she'll put all that stuff back on so that the patient doesn't have to go to the orthodontist, get that crap taken off, drive to my office to get a filling, drive back to the orthodontist, get all that stuff put back on. You know how mad a mom would be if she had to do that with her kid and it's hot as hell here in Texas?
Yeah.
So and we tell them, well, most of the other dentists don't do this. We know how. We coordinate with an orthodontist really, really well. So that's, again, one of those other higher level referrals to orthodontists. They see one of these patients comes in, they know they're in active treatment. They want that person to come to our office because they know that we know how to handle this stuff, all this undue stress and wear and tear on everybody, and a bunch of added appointments. So that works really well. And Miranda's happy because she gets to get away from the desk for a little while and come back to do patient stuff. So that's like one of her strong suits. Like Shelby, again, she's been with me since the beginning. She just got back from maternity leave. She was gone for like 3.5, 4 months. Do you have any idea how detrimental that would be if she was the only one who knew how to do patient financing or any of this other stuff, or all my Invisalign stuff that we're doing, and if she was just not here one day, 4 months, I mean, you'd screech to a halt. So your income as the doctor or your productivity as the office plummets because you were dependent on one person for your front desk area, right?
And sometimes they quit after that maternity leave. They're like, you know what? I just don't want to do it. I'd rather stay with my kid. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Like, oh, great, because these 4 months I could have been training somebody else.
All right.
You know, but again, if you like Howard ran this big time dentistry, if you hire for personality and train for skill, then those people will just work out better in the long run. But you also have to continually train people. They want to learn new things. They don't do the same crap over and over because they get bored, like I said. So that's where, you know, if I could have had a no front desk at all model, that would have been even better. Like a hotel. You don't walk in and do anything at a hotel besides, yes, I'm Colin Lathrop. Here's my driver's license and my American Express. I'm checking in for the next 3 days. And they look at your driver's license. They confirm that that's your reservation. They swipe the card for incidentals. They give it back to you and say, your room is that way. Thanks for coming in. You know, they don't answer questions about where's the pool on the phone and all this other stuff. They don't do all that stuff right there. They have somebody in the back doing that. So if you can split that up to where, number one, you can't be held hostage by a team member or employee. That's a staff member really at that point if they're trying to do that. You're going to be happier and more productive. Your team member is going to be happier and more productive. Your patient says they're coming in, they're going to sense that that person is happier, you know, instead of this tension that they just hate their job. You ever been around those people?
Oh, they're brutal. It's so hard. It's so hard to be with those people.
Tell they're close to slitting their own wrist at any moment. I mean, it makes you uneasy as a consumer. That's not going to make you want to drop down $50,000 for an implant rehab or whatever else if you don't feel like the place where you're at is very warm and inviting. So it still goes back into that front deskless model that you don't have a real dedicated front desk only person. That's all that they do. And then they can hold you hostage if they quit, die, just leave, mad, go off their meds, whatever.
Gotcha.
So you have backup, you know, and you have overlapping people to where the ship keeps turning, you know, it just keeps the machine keeps rocking.
Exactly.
Because everybody else is wanting their paycheck too, you know?
Yeah.
And so if the cash flow problem because of a dependency on some office personnel, that affects everyone, not just your personal income. So it's a smarter business way of insulating your business from those issues.
One follow-up with that, when you go to pay someone who's cross-trained, do they overall make more money than if you just hired front staff and back staff, or team members, I should say?
Yeah, they're more valuable. So I reward them for that. But the productivity level is so much higher than someone who's just sitting there and they're like, well, the phone's not ringing, so I don't have anything else to do. Okay, well, let's find some more stuff for you to do. But then the phone starts ringing and there's other things that I got for you to do can't be done because you're having to answer the phone. You know, so people will come in and they will want this office manager position, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Only time you need an office manager is if you have like 3 offices. You need someone to help you manage those 3.
Yeah.
If you have a front desk person, 1 hygienist, and 1 assistant, the front desk person is not the office manager. That is just the front desk person.
You're still the manager, dentist. You own the place. You're in charge.
Yeah. Now, if you've got like 12 or 14 employees, swing shifts, all this other stuff, and you're trying to coordinate, you know, personalities and issues and whatever else, you may need someone to help you with that.
Exactly.
Managing your office. But most people do not want to be themselves managed. They want to be assisted or guided or part of a team. So, you know, the traditional hierarchy roles in professional offices, dentist, chiropractors, ENT, medical doctor, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're all the same, just different products that we're pushing. They still have the same kind of receptionist, billing person, an insurance person, an assistant person, sterilization person. A lot of persons, and if you don't have a lot of patients coming in to satisfy those, then you make no money as a doctor.
Right.
Now, if you have a person who can answer the phones, coordinate insurance, collect money, pay vendors for you, that sort of stuff, you have another person who can help in the back, you get a lot of work done on fewer patients. And as more patients come in, add more people into the mix, but also continue cross-training them and expanding their skill set, because they're going to be a more valuable employee to you long-term, which will cost you far less in headaches and time and money. Or if they move, and you can refer them to one of your buddies in Georgia or someplace, and they go work for him, he calls you, he's like, dude, this chick is the best I have ever had. Thank you so much for training her like this.
Yeah.
That means that you're doing things right. But most people are just looking to fill a place, fill a position. Here, you answer the phone and book appointments for me and tell people how great our practice is. Yeah, I know you don't know how to spell my last name, or you have no idea where I went to school, or that I even have kids, I'm a normal person, but I want to put you in charge of being the face of my practice. Way to go. Great choice on that.
Yeah, exactly. And we've all been to those offices.
Yeah, in the cross-training, you bring someone in a lower-level position, an introductory position in the back. They can't do very much damage. And then you train, move them up, and they become more and more valuable employees. They move up to different roles. Those become lifelong employees, and then they're greater, better team members, and you're more productive, that way. So everybody's happier that way. It just works better.
Very good.
It's just kind of my take on it.
In this podcast, we have a lot of doctors, they're making all this money, and then they end up getting divorced and losing half of it. And so I always say, hey, let's address that for a second. You got a wife, you got several children. How are you able to, A, find a work-life balance, and B, keep the love alive with your significant other so that you can just continue on your merry way?
That's a tough one. I mean, I've got 4 kids. My wife and I have been married for 12 years now. And, it hasn't been the easiest, back and forth and that sort of stuff. But, you have to be able to look and see what are your deficiencies and what can you fix, because you're not going to fix the other person. So don't try to do that. Now, that's great timing, your question, because later this week on Thursday, I'm going to leave here right after my IV sedation cases. I'm going to drive to Fort Worth, which is right out of Dallas, 4.5 hours away from here. And I'm going to do this program through Sunday with a guy that I know. His name's Jeff Buski. He's a dentist up there in Granbury. And he did this Wake Up Warrior leadership and like a week-long program, whatever else. And it talks about these 4 fundamental things that you want to look into: your faith, your family, your finances, and your fitness. So if you can manage all 4 of those areas, then you can have a much greater work-life balance. And a lot of those things parallels into my wife and I, our issues and stuff like that. As far as she's a real healthy person. She takes yoga and she teaches Pilates, all this other stuff. She'll run on a treadmill for hours. That sounds like I'd rather shoot myself than run on a treadmill for hours and hours nonstop.
Yeah, no way.
It's like fun to me. But the more I realize that's important for her, if she sees that I'm at least like swimming every day on a consistent basis, I'm looking at my fitness level, and that would make her happier. And hell, I like to swim, so it make me happier too. It's really quiet underneath the water of a pool, so you don't have to listen to your kid, crying about, I want this video game, or I'm hungry, or
yeah, it's a nice break.
So you can make everybody happy doing that stuff. But we don't always have the best examples in life of how to be a good husband or a good father, provider, employer, boss, subordinate, any of those things. And if you can recognize your deficiencies by having an open mind and seeking out people who have figured it out or are way more on their way of figuring it out than you are, then just copy their stuff. Go find them, talk to them, learn from them. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. So I'm looking at this program as a new thing that he's kind of starting as a spin-off of one of these other deals. But he's really committed to it, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping that it will help give me a better sense of balancing those things, because balancing my spiritual faith with my interaction with my family, my wife especially, and my kids, looking at my financial outlook for the future, my current situation, debt repayment, investing for the future, all that sort of stuff, and especially increasing my fitness level and having some accountability for that is the best way to get some peace in your life.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you'll do one of these programs for a while, and then you will evolve as a person, or as a couple, or as a parent, or whatever. And you need to seek out another program that will help you fill in some of the other gaps. You can expand onto this knowledge that you already have and gain new knowledge, or it could be just a reminder of things that you already knew and that you just slacked off on. You just quit doing because of laziness or not prioritizing it, or just becoming a little deficient in your leadership skills. So you have to seek out some of those programs and that sort of, because they're out there. They're in every country, every part of the world, online. You can do them online, I would imagine. In person, I'm an old school kind of in-person textbook kind of person. It's helpful to actually be sitting there and going through discussion and that sort of stuff. So those programs are there. So anything you're deficient on in life, or anything you have stress about or lose sleep over, well, just seek those out for topics and coach, or topics, marriage coach, relationship coach, or whatever else. Instead of a marriage counselor, you go to those people because you're in dire straits. You've been served divorce papers. And you're like freaking out. You're like, oh, I thought everything was great. And you get that stuff. It's not great. So you're in freak out mode. Well, if you worked with a coach early on in your marriage because you don't know what you're doing, because you've never been married before, and they're saying, hey, this is things you can do, these are things you can work on, and be more proactive on those things, you'll get a lot happier. You will invest way less money, because if I paid off all my debt and everything else in the next 3 years, which is my plan, and then in 4 years from now my wife just divorces me, holy, that's a lot of money that I just lost out on. And it's a lot of years of happiness I lost out on. But I'm not the model husband or dad, or I make a lot of mistakes. Some of them I made a lot more than once,
right.
And so now I'm trying to be proactive on taking this program and committing to it, and trying to fulfill those responsibilities to help ensure a better work-life balance for me and for my situation. It'll never be perfect because we're growing individuals and we make mistakes. So, seek out those people who can guide you and help you, and who you can have some accountability with, and who you will be honest with, and you still have to do your part as well. There's no magic pill or bullet that's going to fix those things if you have those things going on in your life. So seek out people who figure it out and just emulate them, or ask them advice, or ask them, hey, how did you learn this? And usually people, by and large, will help you. They'll tell you. And if they don't, find somebody else. They'll tell you.
No, Lathrop, you just threw out so much good information right there. I applaud you for taking that step. I'm sure your family recognizes that as well, to go out there and seek that. That means there's a change in, I think, if you're doing it now, there's a change in your heart, there's a change in your mind that you're already trying to implement. So that's awesome, man. I think more guys need to hear those type of messages. So I appreciate you being so open and honest with that.
Absolutely.
How can people get in touch with you, contact you, website, all that type of information?
Website, Lathrop Dental Center .com, in Katy, Texas. They can contact me via, Facebook. I'm on Facebook. It's easy to find me.
But he looks like an old man on Facebook.
Yeah,
Don't
I
be
had to
fooled.
change. I think my picture.
I was like, who is this guy? He looks so much older on Facebook.
It was an older FaceApp thing from a few weeks ago. I put it up there, and then I just got distracted and hadn't had a chance to change it back to a regular picture. So I need to do that maybe today if I can get to it. But yeah, Facebook's the easiest one. A lot of people contact me through a messenger, and we have dentists and assistant teams that tour through our office to pick up some of the tips and tricks that we do and that sort of stuff. So we've had lots of visitors do that. Happy to help and to share, as long as it doesn't interrupt our workflow for the day, because we're super busy. But my team is used to that, and it makes them better at what they're doing by helping to teach and show people how we do things. So yeah, website, they can see my office stuff, I guess, if they want to see that. But if they need to get a hold of me or want to for anything, then yeah, just Facebook Messenger is probably the best way. Emails, I've got like 60,000 unread emails. Not a good idea. Send me any more of those because I won't get them. So yeah, probably Facebook Messenger would be the best.
Thank you again so much.
Absolutely.
Another great interview has ended. While you're on your phone, click that review button. Write up a nice review for me. 5 stars if you could. As everyone says in the industry, it'll help other people to find us when we have enough rankings. Not to mention, I'll mention you and your review on an upcoming episode. If you follow me at all on Instagram, you only get one link. So I use a Linktree. And so it's a doctorsperspective.net/links. with an S. And that's going to give you everything you need to know. The top episodes of 2017 and 2018, the podiatry series, dentist, acupuncture series, holiday 2017, financial series, how to write a review, how to support the show, like buying a cup of coffee, getting swag, like t-shirts, the Today's Choices, Tomorrow's Health book. That's the blueprints for better health, exercise, picking food correctly, and financial. And then, of course, bundle packs, which can get you the No Needle Acupuncture book for 40 common conditions, including the electric acupuncture pin at a great deal. The resources page has some of the products that I like. It's affiliate style, so if you buy something from them, I get a piece of that. Just like on the show notes pages, if you buy a book from clicking that link, I get a small piece of that as well. So I really appreciate that. Things like Screencast-O-Matic, Pure VPN, Missing Letter, JLab speakers, Prolone Edge or Hawk grips. Once again, if you do need any coaching on how to improve some of your blood work, drop weight, and the Prolone diet, fast mimicking diet, 5-day plan, let me know. As well as if you just need some coaching, whether it's health, whether it's marketing, whether you need some practice growth, etc. Reach out. Facebook, Justin Trosclair, MCC. Of course, out of doctorsperspective.net on the top right, you got all the social media icons that you can imagine. Click your favorite and reach out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please tell a friend, pass it along. You can go to .net/listen. It's just that easy. It'll open up right in your app. And don't forget, I appreciate you. Listen, critically think, and integrate. See you on the mini-sodes on Thursdays and Saturdays. Hope you're enjoying those. I'm definitely having fun summarizing these podcasts in less than 10 minutes for you. You get the nuggets without having to waste your time. Have a great week. We just went #behind the curtain. I hope you will listen and integrate what some of these guests have said. By all means, please share across your social media, write a review, and if you go to the show notes page, you can find all the references for today's guest. You've been listening to Dr. Justin Trosclair, giving you a doctor's perspective.